If the first time you heard of Muammar al-Gaddafi was when he addressed the United Nations, you would think he was a powerful leader poised to lead a great revolution against the powers that control our society. When he addressed the United Nations, he had a 5-point argument that brought attention to sensitive issues that are facing our international community. First, he said that we should look into the Iraq War. He asked the question, why did we actually invade? He said that the UN should address this issue because it was in direct conflict with the UN Charter and its jurisdiction. Secondly, he said that the two-state solution to the Israeli-Palestine conflict was not practical, and he said that the United Nations should let Israelis and young Palestinians live under one united state. Next, he brought attention to the lopsidedness of the UN. He says that the 5 permanent members of the Security Council have too much power. He said the Security Council needs to either be expanded to be more representative, or the veto power of the 5 permanent members needs to be abolished. Next, he said that he strongly feels that the UN has not provided security for the world. He said since the creation of the Security Council, 65 wars broke out, and 1 million more lives have been lost than in World War II, and that was the whole reason the UN was created to begin with. Lastly, he said that there were a lot of undeveloped countries that were not present when the UN was created. He said that these countries have no representation and that the UN should be restructured to include these countries. Now, these claims are not unwarranted. They make a lot of sense, and if they had been proposed by a law-abiding, peaceful leader, they might have been taken more seriously. But Muammar al-Gaddafi is anything but that. In 1969, Muammar al-Gaddafi led a hostile takeover of King Idris of Libya. And once he gained control in 1970, he looked to strengthen his hold. He made executions and slaughters a norm for most people in this country who spoke out against his terrible tyrannical power. In 1971, he annulled the Libyan constitution. In 1973, he declared a cultural revolution, and he started by destroying all of the government institution buildings. In 1975, a terrorist under the name of Carlos the Jackal hijacked the plane of OPEC delegates on behalf of this tyrant that wants to now pursue positive relations with the United Nations. In '76, he killed 25 protesting college students because they spoke out against his horrible, his horrible will. In 1978, he started a military offensive against his neighboring country of Chad over land disputes. In 1979, he formed official death squads that sole purpose was to destroy and assassinate anyone who opposed his power. In 1980, this triggered a mass exodus of over 100,000 Libyans. In 1974, this tyrant of all tyrants attempted to kill the former Prime Minister Bakouche. 2 years later, he set in motion a bombing of Berlin. In the years between 1988 and 1992, he downed 4 planes in 2 different countries, killing hundreds of people. 2 years later, he set in motion a bombing of the La Belle Disco Club that injured over 200 people and killed 3 people. In between the years of 1988 and 1992, he downed 4 planes in 2 different countries. In 1996, he orchestrated the massacre of all massacres in the Abu Salim prison, killing over 1,200 people. In 2001, he officially acknowledged his biological and chemical warfare programs. This man is hostile and almost insane, to say the least. Now, I'm going to get to what I feel to be the heart of the issue. This man of 1,000 evils wants to pursue positive and peaceful relations with America and the rest of the international community. Under no circumstances can we allow this to happen. He wants to pursue this, but at every juncture he has sided with hostile entities and made himself a beacon for terrorists and extremists across the world. He's armed the Chilean leftist groups, the Republican Army of the Irish, and he's armed several African armed forces that have hostile or ill intentions for those around him. He even said that if Saran, the assassin of Robert Kennedy, if he was ever to be paroled, he would give him a villa on the seashore just because he loves terror that much. Now, as American citizens, even hearing this speech should be a slap in the face. As of today, $915 billion have been allocated to spend on Iraq and Afghanistan to fight terrorism and to spread democracy. Now, if America is so willing to forgive and forget Muammar al-Gaddafi's horrific and an atrocious past, why didn't they do the same thing for Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden? It would have saved the American taxpayers over $1 trillion. Now, if America is going to fight terror, then they should fight terror all the way through. They shouldn't let up when they get to Muammar al-Gaddafi, because they didn't do so with Osama bin Laden or Saddam Hussein.